Hello everybody and welcome. My husband and I recently went to Japan for 2.5 weeks for a trip, and it was amazing. And lucky for me, most of the places we visited were well equipped with fabric shops and haberdasheries, and I got to explore. But at the same time, I was observing what people were wearing because I love getting inspiration from actual people and not from Pinterest. I find that real life fashion is a lot more interesting and a lot more inclusive in terms of the kinds of people you find in real life versus on the internet. And so I was very inspired. I was particularly paying attention to silhouette and styling, but also colors and fibers. And what I saw was a lot of oversized, more unisex styling, but then interesting tucking or pleating details or necklines, a lot of solid colors, so not a lot of prints, a lot of earthy tones, especially black. I noticed a lot of people would wear head to toe black, which I cannot pull off, but it was interesting to see. And so while I was shopping for sewing patterns, I was especially looking for the sorts of silhouettes that I would want to wear, because my style is a bit different from the style that I saw on people in Japan. I like when my garments are a little bit more fitted, a little bit more waist defining, for example. And so I was looking for something that would sort of be in between, still Japanese, but still something that I would wear. And I came across this book. We were at a bookstore and there was a large nonfiction illustrated section, to my absolute delight. And I found this book. So this is a book by Ayumi Kijitani, and she has a brand or company that sews ready-to-wear fashion but also sewing patterns called Aviver. And if I understand correctly, this book was created in collaboration with Vogue Japan, between Vogue Japan and her brand Aviver. And the title translates by Google Translate, because I don't read Japanese, as easy adult clothes to make with elaborate details, if I understand correctly. And what drew me to this book was not only the style and visual style of this book, because it's very earthy toned, lots of greens and grays and beautiful colors, but also because it is still a Japanese style book, as in Japanese style garments, but with really interesting details. So for example, on the cover here, you can see she's wearing a neutral green color, a two-piece sleeve in sort of this beautiful linen fabric, and then these cuffs are just absolutely gorgeous, and I want to know how they are constructed. And so I brought this home with me, and I have picked out 3 patterns that I want to make, and I thought I would make a video about making these 3 patterns because I think construction will be interesting, since I will be trying to interpret the Japanese instructions, fully Japanese instructions, although I think that because they are written out step by step with illustrations, and I have a basic understanding of garment construction, it will be okay. And from what I've seen so far that I've translated with Google Translate, the camera function is indispensable in this project. A lot of the details of construction and techniques are really interesting and that I've never done before, so I think I will learn a lot. I will have to somehow trace out the patterns from these layered patterns here, but I think that'll be fine. And I thought it would be interesting to show you the process of making these patterns, just in case you're interested in trying out a Japanese sewing book that is not translated into your language someday, and trying out Japanese fashion. So let me show you the projects that I will be trying, and also the fabrics that I picked out for them. So the first project I will be making is the cover top, because I am obsessed with this cuff detail and I really like the simple shape in a really beautiful fabric. Here is the double page, so you can see it as they've styled it with these white pants. The cuff construction looks like it's both folded and pleated at the same time, which is really, really cool. And then it's got a curved hem and a high neckline with a 2-piece sleeve, and I'm really, really excited to try and make this one. The second top will be more of a relaxed top that they've styled here with a pair of sort of at-home pajama pants. And I love the boat neck neckline, the straight hem, and then these elbow-length sleeves with elasticated cuffs to create sort of gathers in the sleeves, and I think it's just really, really elegant. And so for the bottoms, they don't have them in the photo part of the book, but they do have it in the index. And these are the 3 bottoms that are proposed in the book. I will be making the second pair of bottoms that they propose, the G1, G2 bottoms, and these are both elasticated waist pants with slash pockets, and then there are two leg styles, so one a little bit more fitted and the other one a little bit more wide leg, and I'll be making the wide leg version, which you see in this sort of terracotta-y brown, sort of orangey brown color, and I think it's going to be really interesting to make. And so let me show you the fabrics that I picked out. The colors in this book are very neutral and sort of olive greens and browns, black and white. And while I love the colors in the book, they don't quite suit me. I can't wear such warm neutrals. It just doesn't look good on me. And so I have picked out some fabrics in this palette that I think will suit me, but are still in sort of earthy tones, as in like nature tones, and in natural fibers. These are all linens from Bubu Tissu, which is based in Slovenia, I think, and they have some really, really gorgeous linens. So I was thinking for the pants, I'll make it in this thicker gray, sort of light gray linen fabric. Let me open it up for you. Here it is. It's got this really interesting texture to it, and it's in this light gray, and it's just gorgeous. I think that it's gonna go with a lot of things in my wardrobe, as it's a neutral color. And then I have this, the fabric came in two different pieces because it was the very end of the roll, but I got about 20 centimeters for free. This one is in a mint green linen, and it's a very loose, floaty linen. And so I think I'm going to make the boat neck, relaxed, casual, elasticated, elbow-length sleeve top out of this one, because it's going to be more of a casual thing to wear. And then for the top with the interesting cuff detail, I wanted a fabric that had a good amount of structure to hold that cuff and to hold the structure of that top. And I picked out this linen, and what I really love about it, that I didn't realize it until it arrived, is that it's got a slight sheen to it, to the surface of it, and it's a little bit rougher, but I love this sort of ocean gray blue color. I think that it'll look really, really lovely. And I think that with its structure and bounce, it will create a really beautiful cuff. And so that is what I'll be making. These are all pre-washed already. My next step is tracing out the patterns and cutting them out. To start, first I had to choose these sizes I was going to make. It looked like from the sizing chart, my top half corresponded to the size M and my bottom half to the size 2L, but there was so much ease integrated that at least for the tops, I decided from the start to make a size small for both tops. And then all I had to do from there was make sure that I understood which pieces corresponded to which garment and which pieces were what, and then I was all ready to trace out and start cutting my projects. So it is the next day now, and I have finished cutting out all of the pieces of the puff sleeve top, as it is called in this book. I made sure to go and look at the instructions and translate little notes on the steps of construction for myself before cutting, and I'm glad that I did that because I didn't realize at first, and I realized it as I was reading the instructions, that the seam allowances are not included in the pattern and that they are different for regular seams versus the hems, and so you have to add very specific seams or seam allowances to each edge. And so I'm glad I did that, and so I did. I drew in outside of the pattern piece when it was laid out on the fabric these seam allowances and cut along those lines instead. And so now I'm all ready. I have already interfaced the facing pieces and stay stitched the necklines on both the facing, the front, and the back. And the construction is actually pretty simple. I think that this is going to be the easiest project of the three. So I will be sewing the shoulder seams, then the facings, the neckline, then the side seams, and then the hems, and then it'll be finished. So I think that I might be able to finish this today. I just need to be careful around the insertion of the elastic step at the sleeve hem, because the technique is a little bit different from what I'm used to, but I think it's going to go fine. I'll just pay extra attention, but the illustrations in this book are extra helpful, so I am pretty confident that it will go well. am so pleased with how this top turned out, and I was unsure about how the sleeves would work with the grown-on sleeve being so aggressively grown on, but I think it works really well, and I love this color and this fabric, and I will definitely be wearing this very often. Good morning, it is the next day now, and I am ready to tackle the pants pattern. Except that I came across a few difficulties while I was tracing it out. I realized that I had misunderstood the Japanese written underneath the pattern in the index, and instead of saying that it is 2 different leg options, one more wide leg and one more peg leg, it said that they were made in 2 different fabrics, so one a little bit stiffer and one a little bit more relaxed, which made it look a little bit less peg leg. And the peg leg style is not for me. I much prefer a wide leg style in my pants. I don't think that the peg leg will be something that I reach for and wear. And even though I want to experiment with these patterns and try something a little bit outside of what I would usually wear and make, I still want it to be something that I actually wear to avoid this being more fast fashion and just trendy. And so I almost decided to scrap this project entirely and just make 2 tops for this video, but it bothered me. I really wanted to make a piece that would go with the 2 tops. And so what I did was I altered the pattern. I lengthened it 5 centimeters because already I could tell from the inseam measurement that was indicated for the finished garment measurements that it was going to be a little bit short on me, as in, I think it's designed that way. I think it's designed to be a little bit high-rise, or not high-rise, but above the ankles a little bit, and I wanted it to fall at my ankles, so I added 5 centimeters to that. And then I also altered the side seams of both the front and the back legs to be more straight rather than peg-legged or tapered in for the peg leg as it was designed. And I used the Seamwork Joss Pants pattern to sort of judge how much of a wider leg to create. I didn't go as wide as the Seamwork Joss Pants, but I did, add a bit more width to the legs. So we'll see how that turns out. I haven't made this adjustment ever before, and so I'm not sure if it will work. I did make sure that the hems were nice and straight, and comparing the rise to the Seamwork Joss Pants, it looks like it's similar, so I think that it will be at the natural waist, which is what I prefer for my pants as well. And then I also noticed that the amount of ease in these pants, so my hips and waist, or my hips more, correspond to the size 2L in this book. And so I had originally traced the 2L size, but then comparing it to my Seamwork Joss pants, even without the seam allowances integrated, there was a lot of ease in the hips and the waist. And so I decided to size down to a size M, because even then it had even more ease than my Seamwork Joss pants. And I thought that would be entirely sufficient. And the finished garment measurements say that the M size is 100 centimeters at the waist when unelasticated, so it will definitely fit over my hips when I put it on, which is a really helpful measurement. And so I'm glad that was included. And so that is what I did. I am all ready with the pattern pieces traced out, altered and traced out, and then I also have my fabric pre-washed and ready to go. So I will be tracing that, cutting it out, and then starting to sew. I am so pleased that my alterations worked with these pants, and I think they really did. I think that in terms of the length, the rise, the amount of ease that I integrated into the legs really works, and it's still a tapered shape, and it still has its great details like the slash pockets, and I think that these pants will definitely become a staple in my wardrobe. Good morning, it is the next day now, and I am ready to get started on the third and final top that I'll be making from this book out of this lovely sort of gray, blue, oceany linen fabric, and I'm excited to get to it. But I've been thinking about this pattern quite a lot because I'm not sure I'll wear it a whole lot, and the whole point of making this is trying new styles, but also making it wearable, which is what I did with the pants too. So I've been thinking about, especially the neckline, how I might be able to manipulate the neckline, because I find that even though the sleeves have a really beautiful cuff detail to them, the bodice part of the blouse is very square and austere, I find. And especially the neckline, it's a higher neckline than the first top that I made, and it's more of a scoop neck versus a wider bateau neckline. So at first I was thinking, what if I just use the neckline of the first top and put that on the second? But the first top it doesn't have a shoulder seam, so the wider neckline goes almost to the shoulder points, and this one does have a shoulder seam. It has a set-in sleeve, and so it won't work that way. So I was thinking of making a V-neck. So there is one top in this book that has not as wide of a neckline as the first top that I made, but it has a little slashed neckline. It's a very subtle V-neck. It's not very open. It's a very subtle sort of closed V. And I think that that would add enough of an opening at the neck to let my neck breathe a little bit and add some visual interests up here, make it a little bit more dynamic. I'm not sure. We'll see. So I spent a little bit of time this morning modifying the pattern pieces. So this is my front bodice piece, and I took the front bodice piece of the slashed neckline top and inserted the slash, so you can see it's a very, very subtle V shape, and then I retraced the neckline to create a facing and sort of drew that myself, placing the bottom of the facing, because the original facing ends here, the bottom of the facing about an inch or 2.5 centimeters from the bottom of the slash, all the way up to the original facing end at the shoulder. And I've decided to leave the back neckline the way it is because it does have a teardrop opening with a little button, and even though that makes 2 openings, I'll probably keep that closed most of the time, and I've never actually made that, and so I'd really like to experiment with that style and make that this time. I think that would be kind of fun, even though the button will catch on my hair. I know that. I'll try and pick the smoothest one possible, and I have an idea in mind. But yeah, I'm excited to get to this. The pattern pieces for the cuff facing and the cuffs and the sleeves just look out of this world. I've never seen pieces like that before. I have no idea how this is going to come together, but so far the instructions have been really easy to, well, not easy, but with a translation tool, easy to follow, completely explicit, as in no details are left untouched. It walks you through it, but with very concise language because it's in a book and they needed the space. And then the illustrations are easy to follow. It's just really well done. It's very good quality book. And then I've found the patterns just really easy to work with, even though you add in your own seam allowances. So I am excited to get to this one. I think I'll learn a lot. It's going to be more of an experiment and the hardest project that I've tackled in this video so far. So it is a very hot day. It has been very hot, if you haven't noticed from my hair being up this entire video and my summery clothes. But today is the hottest day, so we'll see how much I get done, because even just sitting here, I'm sweating. It's currently 81 degrees Fahrenheit inside, and it is still morning, so it is not the hottest part of the day, and it's getting hotter, and it's going to stay this way for a few days. So this is the 3rd heat wave in about 2 months, and it's exhausting. But anyway, I won't go on about that. I will get to it. Wish me luck. Send me cool vibes, and I'll get started. another day and still working on this third top. It's taking me a while, a lot longer than I thought it would, I think for two reasons. One, it is incredibly hot. It is again very, very hot today. It's about 84, 85 degrees here in the coolest part of the house and about 101 outside in the shade. And it's really, really hard to sleep and wear clothes and sew. And so I will be working on the sleeves today, but also not using the iron as much as possible. I think I can get away with it for a while. But yeah, oh my goodness, this is hard. There's that. And then also I think that not only do I not want to wear this because it's way too hot to wear something with sleeves and so close to the neck, but I'm also thinking that despite my modification of the neckline, I'm thinking this isn't the top for me. I think that the neckline is way too high and it's a little bit too austere, but I haven't finished yet. I'm still really excited to see how the sleeves come together. They look absolutely crazy. This is the sleeve. What in the world is this? And I will be apparently inserting elastic into the seam allowance, which I've never done before, except for bathing suits, but never in a woven garment before, so that'll be interesting. I'm really excited to see how these sleeves come together, and I think that, yeah, it's gonna be really clever. But I'm not, yeah, I'm going to finish this because I'm already almost all the way through it, but I'm kind of feeling in advance that this is not the top for me, but I suppose I could give it away. But I will leave that for after and decide when I'm finished and try and reserve judgment for after. But yeah, I'm not sure. We shall see. These are by far the coolest sleeves that I have ever put together and sewn, but unfortunately I think that this top is just not for me. I think that it's a little bit too boxy and austere in the bodice, and so I'll just have to find either a way to recycle this fabric or someone who would like to have it. So there you have it. These are the 3 garments that I made from this Japanese sewing book, and overall the sewing experience was a lot easier than I anticipated. I thought it would be a lot more difficult to understand the instructions, and even with an approximate translation tool, the instructions were so well written. Even though they were concise and each pattern took up only about 2 pages, they were fully illustrated. There was nothing missing from the instructions, as in I didn't have to fill in anything or guess at what they meant. Everything was easy to follow and the patterns were really well designed. Everything fit together really well, and I'm really happy that I tried these. I think that I learned a lot of new techniques, as in the keyhole opening in the back, or I understood that narrow seam allowances at the hem are easier to sew when it's a curve, for example, or I've never inserted elastic in a seam allowance before, and that was fiddly, but created a really cool effect. And so yeah, I learned a lot of new techniques, and then these are silhouettes that I've never worn before. I didn't know that a grown-on sleeve would suit me. I was really worried about how that would wear, and so yeah, very surprising, but pleasant surprises. And I think that even though this one is probably my favorite and the most wearable one in terms of my lifestyle and what I prefer to wear and the color, I think that the pants I'll wear just as much once it gets a little bit cooler because I love the color and the fit and the style. I think that they'll go together really well. I probably won't wear them together because it's a lot of ease in both garments. I'll probably match them with other pieces, but I will definitely be wearing these and really appreciate them. And I think 2 out of 3 is not bad. So it's okay that this one didn't turn out to be something that I'll likely wear. I think that I'll either be able to recycle this fabric or give it away to someone, and someone who will appreciate it because it's still well made and or well designed and interesting. I think that if you are interested in sewing Japanese sewing patterns, I would tell you do not hesitate, especially if it comes from this series of books, the Heartwarming Life series by this publisher. I will link this book below if you are interested, and then perhaps you can find other books in the same collection if you want to explore their entire collection. But I would tell you not to hesitate to try a Japanese sewing pattern, because I used to work in the publishing industry, and especially in illustrated nonfiction books, for over a decade, and Japanese sewing books have the reputation for being some of the best in the world, as in not only for the designs, if you enjoy the designs, but mostly for the instructions and how graphically beautiful they are, but then also how well designed the illustrations and the instructions are for the actual sewing patterns and how well drafted they are. And so I think that they're a guarantee of quality, at least from my point of view, and so do not hesitate. Let me know in the comments which of these 3 garments is your favorite and how you would wear it. I'd love to know. And if you are interested in trying out a foreign language sewing pattern, I would highly recommend just trying it, because with the translation tools we have at our disposition now, the world is at our feet. We have so many different choices and possibilities now, and it's amazing. If you enjoyed this video, don't hesitate to leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. And if you'd like to contribute to this channel, I will link my coffee account below if you'd like to leave a tip for a coffee, for example. Or there is the YouTube Super Thanks option if you prefer that way. All contributions are really helpful in keeping this channel alive and allowing me to do this full time. And to anyone who has sent a contribution in the past, thank you so much. I will link in the description below all of the patterns to the clothes I wore throughout this vlog if you are interested, including this book if you're interested in checking it out. I hope you are all doing well and that you are keeping cool if you are in the Northern Hemisphere. And I will see you again here very soon with a new video. Take care and bye-bye.